Hello, welcome to Prime Reviews. I'm your host, Scott Prime, and I'm here to talk about some comic books today. I'm really excited to talk about Villainous. Villainous #1 just came out on October 14th. It's done by a guest that was on the Task Force Geek show, Stonie Williams. So I'm happy to finally get to talk about this comic that debuted. Villainous #1 is a new comic from Mad Cave Studios, which is a publisher honestly I wasn't familiar with until we had Stonie on the regular Task Force Geek show. But as you can see here by the awesome cover that I showed you live, but I'm going to show you right here, and then I'm going to show you some cool artwork too. So there's the cool cover that you can see on the digital screen, and then let's go to like page 1 and 2 of this comic as we kind of just go through this. I just want to kind of like showcase like there's super beautiful art here. This is not just some independent comic, that's in black and white or maybe some amateurs. These are like real hardcore professional people here. And, quite honestly, to me, the book looks like almost like an Image comic, So, to me, it just has that same flavor of like, if I saw this from Image Comics, and that's not to talk down to Mad Cave Studios, that's to talk up, because, Image Comics is, one of the top publishers out there. So this is what this comic reminds me of. The comic is written by Stonie Williams, who I've probably already mentioned, who was a guest on Task Force Geek. The art is done by Jef Sadzinski. If I'm saying that correctly, I'm sorry, Jeff. And then the colors are also very wonderful, as you saw. Those were done by Joana LaFuente. I'm going to really try my best when I do these Prime reviews to really showcase the colorist's name as well, because I'm thinking more and more I see all this beautiful art. I mean, it's not taken away from the artist, but the colors now, compared to where they were 20 and 30 years ago when I first started reading comics, they're just popping, and they make these pages pop even more. So there's even these guys are just great artists in themselves. They're just not slapping blue down. They're slapping shades of blue to create an image and paint a picture just as well. So about the comic, I really enjoyed this comic. Now, I had no preconceived, I didn't know what to expect going into this thing, but I thought I'd just give it a try. It talks about villainous, and really the only way I was like familiar with that term is there's a board game called Villainous. It's a Disney game where you play villains. But so I was really curious to see where this Villainous, the comic, goes. And it's a story centered around the main character, which is Matilda Anderson, or she goes by Tilly, or Rep Tilly is her superhero name. She's part of the sidekick program into the Coalition of Heroes, which is like the big Justice League group of this universe. They're the ones who everybody wants to be a part of, and you want to be associated with, because they're protecting everybody. So she gets an internship there, and she's assigned to one of the heroes there, and she's kind of doing the grunt work, right? She's being the secretary. She's picking up his laundry. She's firing the housekeeping. She's doing all the bad stuff that she doesn't want to do because she wants to be a hero. But, that's what you got to do when you're an intern. And she uncovers that, like there's more to this superhero stuff than what she thinks. There's not all heroes are like that great in person. I mean, and that's kind of the one thing, that we get in other comics more than even just like Peter Parker has problems, but he doesn't have, maybe he's not a bad person. And with comics, in the last 20 so years or so, they kind of shows sometimes the darker side of some heroes. And this is what this book does. It shows you that, like, your heroes can be normal people with normal problems too. And Tilly finds out too much, and I don't want to give too much away, but she finds out too much, and her looking up to these guys, by the end of it, she's not looking up to them so much. This book reminded me, I said it already, it reminds me of an Image comic, and the writing style to me, and I don't mean this in any way, shape, or form bad, I actually mean this in the highest regard, is Jeferson, who wrote Noble Causes, Dynamo 5, Copperhead for Image Comics. I love that guy's superhero stuff, and I really like his independent superhero books, Dynamo 5, Noble Causes. This book, in my head, fits right into that universe. And I think that's a good thing. I think these are fun ideas. It's like, what if this or that happened? It's different than just your normal Marvel, superhero comic. And it stands on itself I'm telling you right now, go buy this comic, give this thing a chance. As you saw, the art's good, the writing's good. I'm really excited to pick up number 2. It's right here. You can look right here. Number 2. It's going to flash up right over my face here in a second. Maybe not. There it is. Boom. I love these covers. Sometimes you don't need a cover depicting like what's going to happen in the comic. You just need something to eye catch you. And I love these type of covers like that. So the covers got me as well. The next issue drops on November 14th. No, I'm sorry, November 11th. And this one just came out on October 14th. So get that to your local store or go to your shop. And if they haven't ordered it, you can still order this through Diamond. If you're interested in learning more about how this comic came about and more about the writer Stonie Williams, you can check out the link here, and you can go back and watch some Task Force Geek episode where we had Stonie in for a good hour and a half plus talking about all sorts of stuff and how he became the writer for this comic. It's a wonderful story, and I think anybody out there would really like that. He's also a great guy, so go get out there and support these independent comics because they start out being independent guys, and then I think Stonie's going to go somewhere. He's going to catch some people reading this, and it's going to lead to bigger and better things. So Villainous number 1, big thumbs up. Mad Cave Studios, Stonie Williams, Jef, Joana, great job. Really excited for number 2. Now, with that said, when I was at the shop picking up this issue, I had to go to a different shop because I had to go search for Villainous number 1. While I was at this other shop, I found this comic, Giant Size X-Men number 1. Now you're saying, why are you going to talk about Giant Size X-Men number 1? Well, if you look up here, you'll notice it's a tribute issue to Wein and Dave Cockrum. So I think I have a few images here. There's the Giant Size X-Men. That's a cover by, I believe his name is Adi Granoff. I'm probably not saying his name correctly, but that's the spectacular artist that does that. And this issue is special because it takes the script of Wein and it's done by 36 different artists and art teams. So you can see here through this whole checklist, all these different great artists: Alex Ross, Kevin Nowlan, Phil Noto, Mark Brooks, Jen Berthal, all these tons of great artists is doing this X-Men comic, and it brings you right into the comic on page 1. If you look at page 1 here, it's done by Alex Ross. It's beautiful. It brings you right in. It sucks you in. If you've never read Giant Size X-Men number 1, I highly suggest you try to find this tribute issue. This came out on September 30th. So it still should be out there, or maybe even available through Diamond Comics if you wanted to kind of reorder this thing. There's a couple of different covers. What I think is awesome about this is they took the exact same layouts that Dave Cockrum did way back in the day, and they did it panel by panel, page by page, exactly like he had it. They just have different artists doing each page. The script got updated just a little bit for certain things that are no longer probably appropriate by today's standards versus 1974 standards. So it was just a few words here or there because you have Thunderbird, you have the Japanese superhero Sunfire, so you can kind of put 2 and 2 together, or you can go research, you can go Google it and find out what the differences were in the script. Great issue. It's been a long time since I read Giant Size X-Men number 1. It still really holds up, and I think it really holds up with the storytelling by Dave Cockrum. The guy is just magnificent. He's not scared to put 8 to 9 panels on a page. Every page is just chock full of goodness. He really tells a story. And what's weird is I've never been a Dave Cockrum fan. I appreciated his art, but I never loved his art. Reading Giant Size X-Men, for some reason, seeing it in a new light by these new artists, tackling his stuff made me really appreciate his craft of storytelling because I don't know, maybe it's the up-to-date art. I have no idea, but I just was poring over the page looking at the storytelling. It actually made me go back and look at some of his original pages and other, books and the X-Men series that he illustrated. So I don't know. It's kind of weird to say at 46, I figured out that I really, really appreciate all the work Dave Cockrum's done over the years. So this might be something you might like too. Anyways, it's really fun read. It does feel like 1970s, but at the same time, it doesn't feel really outdated to me. And that's the beautiful thing about it. You know, you read some comics and you go, well, this kind of, it was good for its time, but it no longer holds up. This was really fun. I didn't want to put it down. And I kind of almost said that once it was all over. Anyways, I highly recommend. It's only like, I think it's only $6, which is, I know, a lot, but by today's standards, that's pretty good for getting all these kind of artists and getting to see their take on the classic X-Men. So highly recommend Giant Size X-Men #1. Get to your store before they're gone. And that's going to wrap up Prime Reviews today. So what have we learned? Villainous #1, amazing. And for a classic read, Giant Size X-Men Tribute #1. Get out there and buy them. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and tell everybody about us. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think, what you don't like, what you do like. And we'll see you next time. For Task Force Geek, goodbye.